Hello everybody, it's Sylvie. Welcome back. I hope you're doing good. I don't know where my voice has gone. There we go. She seems to be back. So today's video is going to be my autumn deck basket. This autumn deck basket plus a couple of extras. So I have tried to keep my autumn deck basket a little bit more curated than my summer, because I think I had a lot of decks kind of on deck, as it were. Haha, sorry. for the summertime, and ended up finding it was kind of too many to really focus on them. So I've got 10 decks for autumn, and I'm going to take you through them. So I thought I'd film this today because we've had this heat wave in England, and I think other places as well. We've had this heat wave, and then the last couple of days it's kind of gloomed back down. And so I did my autumn nails. I got this beauty in the post today, and then the sun has just come out. So clearly the weather is not ready for autumn quite yet, but I am certainly ready for the autumn aesthetic as much as I love and adore the summer. You know, autumn is coming. All of the pumpkin spice girlies can enjoy that. It's on its way. But I, for one, was so miserable last winter that I am in no hurry to speed that process up. So we'll do this one first, since it's in front of me. This is my newest acquisition. This is the Woven Path Tarot. So I didn't film a like walkthrough or flip through or anything, because look at these edges. Because I feel like several people have. This was a Kickstarter deck that I backed last year, October or November, but because I'm in the UK, so it was delayed anyway. It was delayed by a few months, but because I'm in the UK, mine took an extra long time to get to me. Sorry, I'm just playing with the reflection from this foil on the back. Mine took forever to get to me. People who are in like the States have already had theirs, so there's unboxings and stuff floating around on YouTube if that's what you want to see. It is a stunning deck. As you can see, I'm enamored with the backs, which have kind of two different shades of gold and bronzy foil on. It's a multiple artist deck, and as you can see, there's sort of spot gloss in each card. It's really, really beautiful. I will say the cardstock doesn't feel amazing, which is a little bit of a disappointment because the rest of the production quality is so good. This is one of my favourites, the Seven of Cups. Literally this came in today, so I've had a flick through. I've picked out some favourite cards, I've given a good shuffle, I've kind of flipped through the guidebook a little bit, but I don't have any feelings on this deck so far beyond it's beautiful, and I'm so glad it's finally here. This, however, is perfect for autumn. It's not just because it's my newest deck, but it's got this kind of medieval tapestry inspiration, which is more apparent than, like, it's not so much in this Four of Swords. This looks very modern illustration for the most part, although there's these like florally details back here. But yeah, some cards look much more medieval than others, but I think it's actually quite cohesive, considering I think there's a different artist for every single card. Like this looks much more medieval tapestry, as does this. And this one, I adore this Page of Cups. And there's Knight of Wands. I really like all the knights in this deck, actually. Anyway, I'm very enamoured of this, and I think it is very autumnally appropriate. Adore this Ace of Cups and this Magician. So yeah, I can't wait to like dig into it a good bit. And at this rate, I'm going to flip through the entire deck. So I'm going to pause there. Pause on the Eight of Swords. Let's have something a little bit more inspiring. I really like the Eight of Coins. Let's pause on the Lovers. So that is the Woven Path Tarot that I'm very excited to get to using, and is the first in my autumn deck basket. Yeah, like this gilding is already like, I don't know if it's showing up, but there's little sparkles coming off of my hand, so I don't think this is going to last. The cardstock also doesn't feel incredible, so I'm a little bit disappointed that the cardstock isn't slightly higher quality. There's also 13 Zodiac cards, which I've just got in the back of the deck box for the moment. Okay, so next up is the Tarot of Vampyres. This one should come as no surprise. This is a fairly recent acquisition. I spoke about this recently in my decks I want to work with video. So yeah, I think, I don't want to get ahead of myself. I think this is probably going to be my like October study deck. This Daughter of Knives. First of all, it's giving me very like Taylor Momsen. Second of all, this is what I wanted to look like for probably most of my life, for the first 2 decades of my life. Well, we'll discount the first like 7 years or so because I was barely a person then. But anyway, this was like my dream aesthetic for so long. The only reason it isn't now is just because it's like a little bit femmy and a little bit high effort for me. But anyway, I'm so excited to work with this deck, and I think this is going to be my October daily draw, and I think I'm going to do a bit of a deep dive study of this in October as well, or starting in October. Who knows how long it will last. But I'm just really excited to finally work with this. I love the art style. I think the melodrama and the like very sexy gothy vampire aesthetic is wonderful. I love that there's astrology information on all of the cards. Oh, we're falling about. And yeah, this one also has, I know I mentioned it before, everyone mentions this, the guidebook looks amazing. It's packed with information, analysis and symbolism, like pages for each of the cards, as well as I think the like philosophy and like ideas and symbolism, like astrology and stuff behind the deck. So yeah, this is absolutely on my autumn deck list. Oh, I will say, since I don't think I got that far, I kind of launched straight in. This is not my Halloween-y, spooky season type decks. I think I might do a video of those because I do have quite a few. This would also be on that list, but it is just on my general autumn vibes list for the time being. So moving on now to the decks that are actually in the basket, we'll start here. So, oh, I'm kicking things. I think we're good. So this is the Horror Tarot that I have wrapped up in a scarf because I do not like the Insight Editions box. This is another one that's like spooky and Halloween themed, but I genuinely just love this deck. I've edged it in this, I think this is a brown pen, but the way that it's kind of blended with the backs, it looks kind of like old dried blood, which is honestly quite appropriate. So this is, as I say, this is an Insight Editions deck. This is the Horror Tarot, and the art for this is by Abigail Larson, whose art I think is absolutely stunning and beautiful and gorgeous. So yeah, this is very Halloween-y, but I'm used it for like the whole of the kind of darker season last year. I don't love this sun. I don't understand this sun. I've had some really good readings with this deck. I think it's just so gorgeous. Obviously it's kind of creepy and horror-y, but I think it's really beautiful. And I'm really excited to dig this back out. The Pentacles suit is a bit of a dud for me. The Pentacles is a bit more pippish, but technically speaking, it's fully illustrated throughout. And for the most part, like the Seven of Swords, like Nine of Pentacles, the Pentacles I don't super get, but for the most part, they're pretty interestingly illustrated minors. And yeah, there's not much to this except to say that I am really excited to dig this one back out. I really love the aesthetic. I really love the horror vibes. I just really love the artwork in general. I do really like this Five of Pentacles though. The kind of focus in, like it reminds of the Rider-Waite-Smith, but it's just that church window. I really like it. Anyway, there's not that much to this one. It's just a kind of seasonally appropriate deck. The guidebook for this is meh. I read this one kind of with my knowledge of the Rider-Waite-Smith and kind of based off vibes. I will consult the guidebook sometimes, but mostly I love this Hierophant. It gives me Warlock and Patron energy. So yeah, for the most part, I kind of see what pops up intuitively, and I will finish this on my favorite magician card ever, this mad scientist in their lab. I adore this. So yeah, that is the Horror Tarot. I think actually this one is in the front of my planner because the copy that I got had like duplicates of the first half of the Major Arcana, for no obvious reason. So apologies to whoever got the copy of the deck that was missing half the Major Arcana, I guess. But anyway, so I have duplicates of some of the cards of this one because it's just my favourite magician ever. I think this one's in my planner. Anyways, that's that one. Okay, so next up we have the MJ colour name deck for the season. This is the Crow Tarot. You know I love an MJ deck, and this one just feels right for autumn. This is a bit more of an intense deck than her others that I have. Potentially the Raven's Dream is quite intense, but it feels intense in a different way. And I am actually currently working with the Raven's Dream. That is my daily draw for September. But this one I want to dive into. Like I say, it's a bit intense. It feels a bit prone to shadow work, which just feels right for this season where the nights are getting longer and darker. I also mentioned in my decks I want to study video that an MJ deck is on the list, so maybe that will also happen. Maybe not, we shall see. This one took me forever to get, actually, because I fell in love with her decks from the Guardian of the Night, and then the second deck from her that I got was the Grimalkin's Curious Cats. It took me a while to get this one because the art style originally didn't appeal to me as much, but actually since I've had it and since I've worked with it, I think it's definitely one of my favourites. It looks a bit more, oh, I don't know my art history, but it looks a little bit more abstract, a little bit less photorealistic in places, because she does digital art and she uses kind of photos and manipulates them, and this one looks a little bit less photographic than some of her other decks do in places. And actually I think up close I really like this one, and I really like how it looks in a spread as well, which is important because surprisingly sometimes really gorgeous artwork, I feel like it just doesn't look good when you have, you know, several cards out in a spread. But anyhow, this is another pretty faithful Rider-Waite-Smith, you know, adaptation, so yeah. Anyway, that's the Crow Tarot. Crows also feel very autumnal. Crows and ravens. Which is daft because they're there all year round. I think it must just be the like spooky, witchy associations. Anyways. We have the Dream Vision Tarot. This one, oh, I've missed this deck. So I've had it out a bit recently. I've used it with the Sustain Yourself Oracle a fair bit. I mentioned in a wrap-up or another not too long ago. But this has mostly been up on a shelf, and I really miss having it to hand, so it is coming back into the regular rotation basket. Yeah, also I got this last year. I got this in October. It arrived. It was a Kickstarter deck, although I'm pretty sure you can get this, you know, it's available to purchase. But I received my copy in October last year, and so it feels like an appropriate time to bring this back. Also, this is a different vibe to the other decks in my basket. Honestly, this is a bit of a different vibe to the other decks in my collection. I don't have anything quite this sort of clean and modern looking in terms of the art style. And the colours are gorgeous. I just really adore this deck. I love how the people don't really look too human. They look a little bit more alien-y. Queen of Wands is stunning. I mentioned this in my What Has Happened Here, in my decks that don't look like people video, which was a VR to Sarah at Tangy Tarot. I love this Two of Cups. Yeah, because the people don't really look like people. So although they're figures and you can assume that they're human, they don't, you know, they're not looking at you and they don't look like anyone you'd bump into on the street. So I really like it for that reason. And it's just gorgeous. I just want to pull it back out. And like I said, I've been really enjoying this with the Sustain Yourself Oracle. And I might try and play with it with some more oracles because I really like how it reads with Oracle. Because it's quite, what's the word for not in your face? Like, it's not smacking you over the face with loads of symbolism and things to read. Like, it's quite... it's quite subtle in a way in terms of the meaning. You know, it's not shouting at you, it's just, it is what it is. So I like how it reads with Oracle because it's not overwhelming, is basically what I think I'm trying to say. Gosh, there's a lot of swords going on. Anyways, that is the Dream Vision. This is another one actually that has a lot of astrology in the guidebook anyway. Not that I always do dip into the guidebook, but it has the decan that each card represents is written out in the guidebook. Okay, so another fairly colourful one. This is the Tarot del Fuego. This is a Fournier deck. I say this every time, but I love the Fournier decks. I love the size. They're cute. And yes, this was in my summer deck basket, and I've used it a fair bit throughout the summer. I just want to keep using it. I just really enjoy it. It's been really working for me recently. I think the colours and the art are so vibrant, but in a way that suits autumn as much as it suits summer, if that makes any sense. I think I often think that, like, oh, bright colours equals a summer deck, like bright bold colours, but especially all the like reds and oranges that I seem to be pulling at this specific moment, very autumnal. But yeah, I see no reason to put this away when it's working really well for me. I think I'm just going to keep it out, keep it accessible. I adore this Queen of Swords. I say it every time, but I love a Queen of Swords that is a little bit mean looking. And this is the one. I hear a cat shouting outside my door, so I'm going to go let her in. Yes, that was the Tarot del Fuego. Okay, so next up, this is the Influence of the Angels Tarot. I don't know why this deck feels like autumn, but it does. So I think I've maybe said this whenever I've mentioned this deck before. This, by the way, I think this has been reissued with matte linen finished cardstock. It's a US Games deck, which I'm sad that I don't have, but I got this one for an absolute steal from eBay, so I'm not that sad. You know, this cost me less than a tenner, including postage, which is pretty good. So yeah, I think I mentioned this before when I mentioned this deck, but as you could probably guess, there are pretty significant Christian overtones to this deck. And a Christian I am not, but I am a fan of collage art collage decks. And for whatever reason, I am able to just read this as a collage art deck. The only explicitly Christian references to my eye, which is not very knowledgeable, are the named angels in the major arcana in the guidebook. So like, yeah, here we've got Justice's Ragel. And then throughout you've got like an angelic message for each card, but that's, you know, it's an affirmation or a message. It doesn't lean specifically Christian. So I can ignore that, which is great. Yeah, and the meanings are consistent with the Rider-Waite-Smith. The artwork is pretty consistent with the Rider-Waite-Smith, to be honest. It's just in this style. So it's easy to read, and you can include or ignore the Christian angelic stuff as you see fit. I think the majors, what are these? The court cards, these are specific people, and it is justified as to why these people have been chosen to represent each court card in the guidebook. So yes, and speaking of the guidebook, part of the reason this is in my autumn deck basket is because I want to specifically work with it with the guidebook, and I think this is almost the only deck that is in this basket as one I want to work with alongside the guidebook. I like how you get the kind of symbolism in a way that encourages you to actually like read the cards and what's on them. So here, like, what does the man, the golden cups, and the angel in this Nine of Cups mean? Why have they been chosen? And then you've got direct and shadow meanings, and then this message. Yeah, it encourages you to actually like read the specific imagery of the cards. And I'm sure I'm not the only one who occasionally falls into the trap of just reading what I know the card to mean and kind of rifling through my internal bank of interpretations rather than actually looking at the artwork. The whole reason that we have more than one deck is for the specific artwork that each card shows, but sometimes it's like I'm not actually reading the card that's in front of me. I'm just I like that they've got the ram on here, but yeah, sometimes I'm not actually reading the card in front of me. It's just kind of a placeholder for whatever's in my brain. So yes, did that make sense? I hope so. Anyway, this is on my autumn list, and yeah, there's something about this like classical collage art that feels autumn appropriate in a way that it doesn't for the other seasons. We have here the Terra Volatile, my one true love. I recently read with this for my soul deck reading. And as I said in that video, this, not soul deck reading, just soul reading, but as I said, this is the closest thing that I think I have to a soul deck. I've also been using this recently to work through Mary K. Greer's Tarot for Yourself workbook, which has been so fantastic. And the reason this is specifically in my autumn deck basket, because this is a favourite deck, I work with it all the time, I need no encouragement to pull it out, but hopefully in the next few weeks I should be receiving the guidebook for this deck, which I pre-ordered many moons ago, and it looks like it's going to be gorgeous. It's a hardback, full colour, illustrated guidebook for this deck. The meanings have been accessible for free on their website for at least as long as I've had my deck, so it's been possible to look up interpretations, but I'm really looking forward to having a physical guidebook. And as I've mentioned before, this deck also comes with a 5th minor suit of vessels, which are alchemical in meaning. Is this in order? How did I not notice? No, it's not. Yes, it is. What happened with the minors then? Do you know what? I don't know. I think I ordered this because I'm studying it. And then I don't know what I did with the minors. Fully distracted myself just there. Yes, 5th minor vessel suit. So once the guidebook comes, I am looking forward to digging into that and actually getting to use the entire deck that I purchased and not just the traditional 4 minor arcana. Okay, next up, this is the Faerie Tarot by Natalie Hertz. This is a recent-ish purchase for me. I gave it these gorgeous rainbow edges because how could I not? And yeah, this doesn't look super seasonal, I am well aware. This looks much more summery, but again, it's bright colours, but I don't think that means it's automatically summer, because like here it's quite a deep background, and like a lot of these cards are actually a bit kind of grungier and wintry looking. The sword suit is quite wintry, as is like fairly traditional. So yes, I think it spans the seasons quite well. I adore this 3 of Wands on the frog. It's so cute. And I've just been really liking this. I really like the energy. I think it's quite a opinionated deck. Yeah, like here, the swords are really wintry. And aside from the colourful border, this doesn't look like a particularly spring or summery deck. So yeah, I'm comparing the borders because the corners are the same, but then the artwork in these, this is the 5 of Cups and the 5 of Pentacles. The artwork is slightly different. I adore the borders on this deck as well. If I had this deck before I'd done my backs and borders video, this would 100% be in there. Yeah, I've just been really enjoying working with this, and for that reason it's in my autumn deck basket, because I want to keep working with it. And yeah, I think it spans the seasons quite well, and I think it's nice to have something that's really colourful and fun. And this is mostly a bit light-hearted so far in my readings with it. It's not been too intense. Like, it has a lot to say, it has a lot of opinions, it will say them quite loudly, but it doesn't, you know, immediately drag me into doing kind of really deep, intense shadow work like the Faerie Tarot does. So it's nice to have something a little bit, not less serious exactly, not less intense exactly, but just something that can be a little bit more brief in a reading, a little bit more one and done, if that's all I want. So yeah, I love this border of the moon. Anyhow, I think it's good. I think it's good to have a kind of span of decks, like some that require lots of study, like the Tarot of Vampyres is a study deck in this autumn rotation, and then something like this is a little bit of a quicker read. Influence of Angels is a bit more traditional, you know? Okay, and this brings me to our final deck, which is the Morgan Greer Tarot. And I know, I've only had this a few weeks. The colour scheme for this is decidedly summery to me in the way that I see it. Like, it's these bright saturated colours, and this one does feel very summery to me because I got it a few weeks ago. I used it outside in the sunshine loads in the first like few days that I had it. But again, I'm just really loving using this at the moment. And I see no reason to put it away just because it has a summertime origin story with me. Yeah, this again, it's quite a similar vibe to the Faerie Tarot in terms of how it reads. It's also quite punchy, quite opinionated. So, have I told this story before? Probably. I picked up a copy of this in the shop that I was in. They had a open copy out to flip through. I didn't realise the box was broken, so all the cards fell through the bottom. Death jumped out as the card on top, which, there he is, you know, was all very funny. And I have been continuously pulling Death, and that's also just the attitude of this deck. It's just like, it's not pulling its punches. It's quite loud, it's quite opinionated. It's not, you know, it's not giving me the gentler interpretations. If it thinks I need to know something, it is giving me the card that is most intensely that thing. Does that make sense? Like Death is transformation, right? It's kind of the ultimate transformation card, but it's not the only card that has transformation as a meaning. But it kind of inescapably means transformation. So that's kind of how this deck reads to me. I also think the way that it's quite like zoomed in, like especially, yeah, like we've got the figures are quite zoomed in. We've not got a lot of scenery. We've got a lot of heads and torsos, you know, whereas traditionally in the Two of Swords, we'd be a bit more zoomed out. We'd be able to see the whole of her as well as more of the landscape. Whereas this deck is kind of like to the point. It's focusing in on what it thinks you need to know. And anyway, that is the final deck in my autumn basket. My autumn basket is looking pretty colourful this year. Like with this, with the fairy, with the Terra of Fuego is pretty colourful. The Dream Vision as well. Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I'm kind of dreading the winter this year because, and it sucks because winter is in my opinion, it's the prettiest season. I always used to say winter was my favourite season. I enjoy weather all year round, as I think you need to survive living in England. You need to enjoy the range of weather that we get. But last winter was just not a good time for me. Extremely not a good time for me, and it was also really miserably cold, and so I'm kind of have that association in my brain. I'm kind of dreading the cold again this year, so I think maybe that's why I'm going for like brighter, more colourful decks to kind of stave off that dread a little bit. So that is it from me today. This is my autumn basket of tarot decks, my autumn tarot pile, the decks I want to work with. You know what I mean. Yes, thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Give me a like if you liked it, and subscribe if you haven't already. Please do give me a comment. Let me know what decks you've got on your list to work with this autumn. I would love to hear, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.